And Steve Harvey, I heard about your book. I'm proud of your success, but look, better stop telling people that lies.
There's been so many stories that have been made up about me. I've heard I've dated a father and son before.
Not true?
Absolutely not true.
Diddy and Lori Harvey, they're heating things up in Italy.
Notice her arm is on the back of his chair.
And nobody in that family has ever fully explained why a 50-year-old man was on a family vacation with their 22-year-old daughter 3 months after his girlfriend died. Not a casual lunch, a whole trip to Italy. Steve Harvey was right there, sitting at the same table watching, and apparently had zero problem with any of it. Most fathers wouldn't even let it get that far, but Steve didn't just allow it. He booked the flight, and now that Diddy's name is attached to everything dark in this industry, people are going back to that Italy trip with completely different eyes. If this is your first time here, subscribe and stay close, because this one goes deeper than people realize.
Figuring out what your non-negotiables are, never waver on them, and also just not being afraid to walk away from something that is not fulfilling you, making you happy.
So when Michael B. Jordan walked off that stage with his Oscar, the internet did what it always does. It made it about Lori. People started flooding her comments, asking how she let that go, how she could walk away from a man who genuinely wanted to build something with her, and on the surface, that's a fair question. But the moment people started actually digging into the full picture, the conversation shifted fast, because it stopped being about Michael B. Jordan. Real quick, people started pulling up the Future situation, the lyrics he dropped about Lori and her stepdad, the way she went completely quiet after all of it instead of saying a single word, and then someone pulled up that Katt Williams clip, the one where he's going in on Steve Harvey directly, name-dropping Diddy in the same breath, and suddenly the whole thing started feeling a lot more connected than anyone wanted to admit, because Katt Williams has been saying things for years that people laughed off, and then later had to come back and take seriously.
Just remember that you're the prize always.
Say that one more time.
Just remember that you are the prize.
Yes!
That's like his golden slogan for me.
Yeah. And what does that mean for you in relationships when you're like, I'm the prize? What does that mean?
It just means not compromising like my values, my happiness, my peace, not settling for less than what I know I deserve, and not being afraid to walk away from a situation if it's like no longer serving me.
And this was one of those moments where people started rewinding and asking why he knew to put those two names together back then. That clip wasn't recent, that clip was old, and the fact that it resurfaced right now in this moment, when everything around Diddy is unraveling, that's not a coincidence. That's the internet, doing what investigators wish they could do faster. Now, let's actually go back to the beginning of all this, because the timeline matters more than people are giving it credit for. Lori and Future started making moves together around late 2019, and look, nobody expected that to be a love story. Future is Future. But what made it strange wasn't just that they were together, it was how public it got, how fast Future was posting her, gifting her roses that filled an entire house, flying her out to Jamaica for her birthday, letting her move into his place in LA. For a man who is notoriously private about the women he's actually serious about, that level of visibility was unusual, and then just a few months later, they both scrubbed each other off their pages without a single explanation.
So many things get written about you in the press, but I've always wanted to know, what is like the biggest misconception about who Lori Harvey is?
It's so funny because I'm so quiet.
Yeah.
There's been so many stories that have been made up about me. I've heard I've dated a father and son before.
Not true?
Absolutely not true.
No interview, no statement, no vague post, just gone, and then Future went into the booth and started talking. He didn't just diss Lori, he went after Steve Harvey by name. Said, tell Steve Harvey he doesn't want her, let that sit for a second. Because that's not a normal diss, that's a man speaking directly to a father about his daughter like there's a conversation that should have already happened between them. Like Future felt like Steve owed him something, or like he was sending a specific message to a specific person, and Steve never responded, Lori never responded, responded, they both just absorbed it and kept moving like it never happened, which is its own kind of answer. And then Michael B., Jordan enters the picture, and this is where it gets genuinely hard to understand, because by this point, Lori had already been publicly embarrassed by Future, already had her name dragged through blogs and comment sections, and MBJ still stepped up, still pursued her seriously, started talking about wanting a family, wanting to settle. He wasn't hiding her, he was claiming her, and Lori still walked away after a year and a half, and people clocked that because you can talk about not being ready all you want.
What's happening, Puff? I'll be back to you if JD ain't had enough. Yeah? And Steve Harvey, I heard about your book. I'm proud of your success, but nigga, look. Better stop telling people that lies before you be somewhere and meet one of my guys. You see, when I'm around, them is polite, gentlemen. Be alone. They be all hyped up on Ritalin. And if I ain't there to hold them back, them be anxious to get it in. And they be wearing stuff over their face so they don't show the cameras who's hitting them. You don't want to play football with me, Harvey. I'm blitzing them. And I ain't gotta call no plays when I audible. I say, get it to him. And you'll be laying there on your backside. They call it a concussion, but for you to just feel like, get in them. And I'll be standing over your body, pulling off your helmet, telling these niggas get his limbs.
But there's a difference between not being ready and consistently choosing situations that were never going to lead anywhere stable, and when you look at the full list, Diddy, Future, MBJ, only one of those men was actually offering something real, and he's the one she left. But here's where it starts getting into territory that people are only now starting to say out loud, because the Diddy situation was never fully addressed. Lori and her team denied it, downplayed it, eventually just stopped responding to questions about it altogether, but the receipts didn't disappear. They were at a music festival together in March 2019, just 3 months after Kim Porter passed. They were spotted on late-night walks in New York. A source close to Lori confirmed to Hollywood Life that they had grown close since Kim's death, that Diddy cherished anyone who could bring light to his life during that time. That was the official soft version of the story, but then on top of that, Lori was also being connected to Diddy's son Justin around the same period. Now there's no hard proof they dated. They were seen at the same events, nothing more, but the optics of being linked to both a father and son in the same window of time is the kind of thing that follows a person. And when Lori finally addressed it directly in an interview with E! News, she denied it clearly, said it was one of the biggest misconceptions about her. That interview has since been deleted from E! News' official YouTube channel. You can only find pieces of it floating around on social media now. Someone's team made sure that footage became harder to find, and that detail alone, that quiet erasure, says more than any denial ever could. And then you layer the Katt Williams clip over all of this, and it stops feeling like speculation, because he wasn't just taking shots at Steve Harvey for the fun of it. He was connecting Steve to Diddy, putting them in the same breath, warning people about what happens when those two names are in the same circle, and people laughed at him. Then the way they always laugh at Katt Williams right before he ends up being right, the clip is resurfacing now because context caught up to it, because people are looking at Steve Harvey standing on stages, talking about protecting daughters and raising prizes, while simultaneously approving a relationship between his 22-year-old stepdaughter and a 50-year-old man with one of the most dangerous reputations in the entire industry, a man Steve had known since Lori was a child, and nobody in that family has offered a real explanation for any of it. Not then, not now. Some people are saying Steve owed Diddy something, that the Italy trip, the blessing, the whole thing was less about Lori's happiness and more about settling something between two men who go way back. There's no proof of that, but the question exists because the behavior created it, because nothing about a father co-signing that situation adds up, unless there's a motivation that hasn't been made public yet, and that's the part of this story that nobody has actually answered. Not Lori, not Steve, not anyone close to them. They've all just gone quiet and waited for the next news cycle to push it out of frame. But the thing about the internet right now is that it doesn't forget the way it used to. Clips come back, timelines get reconstructed, reconstructed, deleted interviews get screenshotted before they disappear, and every time a new piece of information surfaces about Diddy and the people connected to him, people go back to this story and start asking the same questions again, just with more context than before, and the answers keep getting harder to explain away. So maybe the real question isn't whether Lori fumbled the bag with Michael B. Jordan, maybe the question is whether any of the choices in her dating life were ever fully hers to make in the first place.